Are you ready to see some full throttle racing, some crazy action at one of the most thrilling and one of the most scary tracks in the history of iRacing? Then you've come to the right place. Today, it's straight cash money at the virtual iRacing Super Speedway, where drivers will be hitting speeds of 230 miles an hour, all in the name of winning some money. I'm Justin Prince. Alongside of the booth today is Greg Rentz with Charles Wood in the director's seat for what's expected to be one of the more crazier races you'll see to start off 2021. More than 30 drivers have made their way to this virtual racetrack, ready to go full throttle around this super speedway, Greg. It's going to be one of those races where it's going to be intense, it's going to be wild, and if they aren't going 3 wide, you aren't pushing hard enough.
If you've never seen a race at the iRacing Super Speedway, buckle up because you are in for one of the wildest Sunday mornings you will ever experience. This racetrack brings up incredible speeds. Like Justin said, 230 miles an hour here going into the corner for these NASCAR trucks. This is going to be epic as you see them just whipping by right now. Think for this racetrack, think if Talladega and Daytona was crossbreeded with Bristol or Homestead even. That's what you get with this racetrack. A 3-mile super speedway. No restrictor plates like Daytona and Talladega, but you guys are flying around this racetrack when you're driving it. I've driven it in a couple different cars since it came to the iRacing server, and wow, this racetrack is unreal. These guys are going to have to hold on from start to finish of this 70-lap race.
Yes, indeed. Let's first talk about, for those who haven't tuned into an SCM race, how things work. Essentially, the top 5 drivers per race end up racing for cash prizes. Throughout the competitive competition, it depends on how many drivers enter per week. There's also a mini season that also takes place, which rewards championship prize money, which at the moment, that is actually tied entering tonight, Gray. Alan Dobbs, J.R. Miller are tied with 97 points apiece entering today, with Garrett Maines the winner of the first race of the campaign, in third overall in the point standing, just about 4 points behind. Andrew Navarro is 5 points behind entering today, in fourth with Taylor Peacock, a total of 6 points back in 5th position. It's very tight for the overall championship. It could be very tight racing today. Pardon me, tight racing as a result.
And this is going to be wild. Yes, there is no restrictor plates here tonight, but it's going to be drafting wise going to be very important for this race, which is going to play a factor in the points because this can see many shakeups here in just one split second, because if these guys are carrying speed into the corners and something happens, big accident can unfold, which would mean a disaster for your guys up at the top of the points. And remember, 50% fuel mileage as well. Fuel mileage going to play a very crucial role in this race. We have been told that you can only expect these guys to go maybe 12 laps on fuel.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting because it's a cool racetrack. You can already tell there's a lot of rubber in the pit lane. Let's put it that way for these drivers. It does carry over from practice. It was moderate usage for drivers tonight. It's going to be treacherous if you have to enter the pit lane under green flag conditions, let alone how these drivers are going to race in the pack today. Track position could be very critical today, to say the very least, especially since we're about to start off qualifying where drivers in practice were reaching 46 4s around this racetrack today.
Yeah, the 46.4 was done in draft. We were watching it and we were all wondering, myself, you, and our production team, we were all wondering, how in the heck did Christian Sanford go a 4? We went back and watched the replay of his lap, and he was able to get the draft really well on that one lap to get that 46.4. Qualifying, I don't think you're going to see so much of that. I think you're going to see laps in probably the 50-second bracket here for qualifying without help of the draft. So we'll see how it goes, but I don't know. What are you expecting for qualifying time-wise here based off what we've seen in practice?
Well, expecting a lot of drivers trying to get themselves up to speed on the apron, as well as to make sure they don't have major difficulties around this racetrack. It's going to be interesting who tries to run the wall and how many drivers are comfortable overall with the speed, trying to build up the momentum as normally seen for super speedway racing. Taking a look at Hunter Parsons, he's one of the first drivers out on the racetrack. Keep in mind that with this series and with it being, well, a super speedway, a lot of teammates will be racing against one another and with each other today. You've got Garrett Maines and Jason Maines, for example. You have some of the CGE machines in the field today. You have several Ryco Motorsports cars in the field. There are a ton of different groupings who may, depending on how they qualify, be trying to group up with each other right from the get-go.
And I wonder also if this opens the door for some drivers and teams to not even attempt a qualifying lap. So not only do they guarantee they're starting around each other, but they're also starting near the back. They can try to stay out of the trouble for the start of the race. A lot of these drivers may not have ever run at this racetrack, so they don't know what to expect these first couple laps. I won't be surprised to see at least a couple of teams on the strategy of, I'm not even going to go out and attempt the qualifying lap, start in the back, let the craziness work out, and then begin going for it later on in the race.
Right now, 211 miles an hour on the corner entry for Hunter Parsons. You're following along with still, again, one of the Ryco Motorsports machines we talked about. You'll see many of those logos on their front hoods as well as their back deck lids today for their respective teams with the black matte paint schemes for a majority of their trucks. First times are in. Bradley Wilson, 53 to start. Hunter Parsons, a 51.371, trying to build momentum for the bottom of the racetrack the second time around, Greg. And keep in mind, there's a lot of banking here. It's upwards of the high 30s, low 40s in terms of degrees around this racetrack.
Track is wicked, Justin. I fell in love with this track from the very first moment we set eyes on it when it came out in the latest build. I fell in love with this track. Remember, for those who might not know the history of iRacing Super Speedway, this is a tribute to the sim racers of the past. In the NASCAR Racing 2003 season, they had a track on here very, very similar to this. Pretty much the same concept, but it was under a different name. Naming rights wouldn't allow us to use that name, so we changed it to iRacing Super Speedway here on the server. And these drivers, they have absolutely fallen in love with this racetrack, the incredible racing that it produces, the incredible speeds that it produces, and it's going to be so much fun to watch these trucks tear it up here. And we've got a lot of trucks in this field as well. This isn't going to be, 15, 20 trucks going at it on a 3-mile track. No, we've got close to 40 trucks here tonight.
Currently at the top of the board, by the way, is one of the Critchley Gallant along the CGE, I should rather say, cars, Bradley Wilson, to keep it simplified. Following along with one of the LSRTV esports machines, Jason Maines, looking to set a time already, has built up some momentum on the first lap. 51.3. Right now, 49.9 is the pace to beat.
I'm kind of disappointed a little bit, I'm not going to lie, Justin, because Jason Maines promised us last week after his very unique victory through Daytona that he was going to bring a different paint scheme here to iRacing Super Speedway, and he was going to bring a John Deere Toyota to the racetrack here tonight. Unfortunately, didn't get it, so we'll have to bug him about it for the finale next week. Here's Garrett Maines in the number 1, who's been a threat every single week. And matter of fact, Justin, I believe he's led the most laps in all 3 races that we've done so far here for straight cash money. So the question is, can he do it again here at the iRacing Super Speedway? And again, very not up to speed all the way on the first lap. A lot of drivers going to have their faster laps on the second lap, very similar to Talladega and Daytona as we watch Garrett run here. Could have won Michigan, but ran into some trouble with fuel mileage. Got caught up in an accident late at Daytona while leading. So Garrett Maines going to be a threat here again tonight for sure. The question is, where does he fall in?
We'll see. Working the bottom of the racetrack right now. He's picking up a ton of times. For comparison's sake, Hunter Parsons, who used the top line on his first lap, only was able to get a 50.1 his second time around. This time around, Garrett Maines gets a 50 flat, a 50.032 for the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series driver for this season. Third best at the moment, 5 minutes underneath that mark left on the board. Of note, some of the drivers still yet to take a time who are on circuit. J.R. Miller in the 78 machine we talked about in the points battle. But also, if we can head towards the number 89 machine, Ryan Twinem is also on tracks trying to set a time. He's getting off and rolling. Right before he started his qualifying run, he added a little bit extra incentive for today. A halfway award in particular, where he's throwing in $10 to the leader at lap 35 for today's race, Greg.
Just another great thing that we're doing here, and a little bit more cash money here in this race tonight. We always talk about how this series is all about the straight cash money, which is what the series is called. But Ryan Twindham getting in on the fun courtesy of Rev Racing, throwing the halfway award. Leader at lap 35 will receive $10 courtesy of Rev Racing. So that's going to be something else for us to keep an eye on throughout this race when we start getting into that area, see who's up front and see who's taking home an extra $10 courtesy of Rev Racing. Big thank you to Ryan Twindham for jumping up and getting that rolling. So these drivers really getting in on the fun here with the straight cash money, putting up prizes of their own. So it's fun to see, and maybe we'll have a couple more by the time we get to the finale next week.
Twindham, based out of Lake Barrington, Illinois, trying to record his first time around, and you can tell just how high that banking is when you're trying to run next to the wall. Some of the drivers are afraid to even get completely next to it with how tight that corner exit camber can be too.
Yeah, this is really a track that a lot of drivers are still trying to figure out exactly how to run it and figure out their quick way around this facility. So I'm not surprised to see many different strategies on qualifying. We saw some driving it like your normal short track, up against the wall in the straightaway and then dive down to the corner or drive down to the bottom in the corner. We saw some doing it where they rode up against the wall the entire time and then they held it pinned down on the bottom the entire first lap. Twindham kind of running in the middle here on the backstretch, and then he's going to dive it down into the corner right on the yellow line. So a lot of different strategies because, again, a lot of drivers, they haven't quite figured out the quickest way around this racetrack yet by yourself for qualifying. So it's also throwing a monkey wrench in there to see these guys try different stuff and see what the result is. Looks like the guy who's got to figure out the most is Bradley Wilson. He's the only driver to break under a 50-second mark of 49.965 for Wilson.
By the way, Jason Maines also has completed his time. We talked about him earlier. A 50.7 to be the slowest time on the board and getting extra practice laps at the moment. The drivers who have not set qualifying times, who will not have the chance to get a time in now, are Mike Lynch, Brian Shue, Curtis Critchley, Jeff Snyder, Kyle McCoy, Michael Anthony, Clint Mata, Nate Lynch, Taylor Peacock, Rob Green, Pete Bellini, Zach Adams, Brian Lynch. So 18 drivers electing to take times here, Greg. Competitive qualifying session. The top drivers up at the top of the board separated by only about 1/100th of a second.
Very competitive qualifying session. By my count, we've 31 or 32 trucks here today. So just about half of the field has gone out for a qualifying lap, a little bit more than half the field. A couple drivers having some issues, though, including Kyle McCoy and Curtis Critchley, who got second at Michigan. So this is going to be interesting because now a couple drivers falling out of the session with some problems. See if they can get back in. They only have about 45 more seconds before the race begins. Got it confirmed that it is going to be $50 to the winner. And then the rundown like usual. 40 for second, 30 for third, 20 for fourth, 10 for fifth.
And with that on the line, how do you feel these drivers are going to try and make moves, especially knowing there's going to be a lot of pit stops and you kind of need to have a truck that isn't demolished to get there? There is a fast repair.
Kind of driver's discretion at that point. Honestly, you know me on the plate races. I say it every time me and you work a plate race. If it's me, I'm hanging out at the back for the first half of the race, letting the drama happen and then try to work my way up to the front. But that's just me. That's how I would do it. A lot of drivers, they like to try to get up to the front and stay in front of the trouble. And it's honestly just a matter of preference. That's at Daytona and Talladega, though. This is an entirely different animal. This 3-mile super speedway qualifying is wrapped up. The trucks are gridding up, which means it's time for the starting grid. And we're going to see how we get going here because we know it is not going to be this way at the end.
The banking's so high that the drivers have to line up on the apron of this racetrack today. Your starting lineup, brought to you by ComServe Wireless, with Bradley Wilson be the only driver in the 49-second bracket of 49.965 is your pole time over John Erst. Row 2 sees Garrett Maines starting alongside Christian Sanford with Andrew Navarro, a familiar name across the iRacing service and some of the super speedways, in 5th. Alan Dobbs will start in 6th position. Brian Twinham starts in 7th today with Hunter Parsons in 8th spot. Jay Jensen starts in 9th. J.R. Miller rounds out your top 10.
Going to find Daniel Hindra, a driver we haven't seen on LSRTV in quite some time, since an old Super Late Model series we used to cover back in the summer and fall, so good to see him back. He starts alongside Joseph Allen in the 27. Ed Osborne was quickest in practice for quite a bit before being knocked down near the end, but he starts in 13th. Watch for him to make his way through the field with John Elliott in 14th. Troy Thompson making, I believe, his first start of the season in the number 10. He will be number 88 on your screen with Darren Hallman in 16th. The final two drivers to take time were the other Hallman, Kevin Hallman, and Jason Maines, last week's winner at Tone in the 31. Drivers that elected to not qualify include Curtis Critchley, who was one of those drivers who had the issues, had to back out and come back in. He's gridded up, though, in 19th, with Pete Bellini alongside in 20th.
In 21st spot ends up being today Kyle McCoy on the initial grid. Remember, he is someone who missed qualifying with technical issues. That will move Zach Adams up one slot. That will be the same for the majority of the other drivers. Well, it will be Nate Lynch who will move up a spot with Michael Anthony, Brian Chu, Taylor Peacock among the drivers in the top 24. Then it will be Mike Lynch and Brian Lynch right on behind them. Rob Green, Jeff Snyder, Clint Mata round out those drivers. 31 total have made their way to the circuit today at iRacing Super Speedway. Now, the initial location for this track is Concord, Massachusetts. The location of the iRacing offices, where the drivers today will be having a very cold racetrack today. 66 degrees Fahrenheit is your track temperature today. 65 degrees Fahrenheit is the air temp with partly cloudy skies. Winds currently gusting at 2 miles an hour to the southeast. No humidity at all for these drivers today. InSim Day is May 15th, 2021, iRacing Day. Your keys to victory for today, Greg.
You're going to want to be patient for sure. You definitely want to not push it too hard at the start of the race and risk getting yourself in a box where you have to take the fast repair early. You want to try to figure out a common strategy for fuel. You don't really have a whole lot of time to work with on fuel runs. Only 12 laps or so that we can expect, and tire management going to be key as well. Only 5 sets of tires here. We did the math. We think you can pit for fuel every 12 laps and be good within only 70 laps, but you're going to want to have at least some life left in the tires and not go all out on the start of this race. So fuel mileage and tire conservation going to be the keys to winning tonight.
We'll see how things fare out for today. It'll be the Phantom CGE machine. Bradley Wilson in control of the field. iRacing pace car is off. Straight cash money is green from iRacing Super Speedway. Down the front straightaway, Bradley Wilson, Garrett Maines, Andrew Navarro already hooked up bumper to bumper as the majority of the field very spread out to start off the launch, Greg. But as we're seeing with the draft effect, seen in practice as well, everyone already bunching back up. But Christian Sanford has now joined the end of what's the current lead train for the time being.
And that current lead train that you talked about, Wilson, Maines, and Navarro, 3 names that have been up at the front for pretty much the entirety of the series. We've had Wilson win at Michigan. Of course, Garrett Maines won the opener in the Cup Cars at Talladega. Andrew Navarro has been in the mix every single week. Oh, he caught the apron, and that's a bad spot to catch the apron there as you see him push up the track, and that's going to open the door for Sanford to get by, and the rest of the group is going to follow. So Navarro is going to get shuffled here, and now Sanford, he wants the shot at the lead as he's going to go for Maines and Wilson here on the front stretch. Wilson going to lead the lap. Sanford's going to get around Maines, but he's not going to be able to clear him as the draft able to really get going. He falls back in line for third in front of John Ernest and everybody fanning out behind them.
That was a little bit of a cheeky block, as that has forced 3 wide with some of the Ryko cars. Now, as a result of that, a little bit dangerous to be blocking right on the corner entry at this circuit with the aggressive amount of banking into the corner entries, to say the very least, as now the Ryko trucks are getting shuffled.
Yeah, they're going to have to fall in line here. I think they are going to get in behind Alan Dobbs in the 45. And there you see another little bit of a push up there from the 71 as our drivers just try to settle things down and get things going once again before jumping back up into the race. 70 laps, long race. Remember, fuel mileage is going to be very key here. You can only go about 12 laps here on a fuel run that we were told. Yep. So expect to see quite a bit of guys just settling things down, getting that first fuel run under their belt as we go on board with the leader, Bradley Wilson. Now we're on board with Garrett Maines looking at Bradley Wilson, and you see right there, very calm, just staying right in his tire tracks to get ready for his move. As you see some drafting going on here into turn number 3. That bump right there, that is my favorite part of this racetrack. When you sailed off in turn 3, you get that bump. It almost jerks the wheel out of your hand at first. You really got to hang on to it. And you see another one right there off turn number 4, and it's really easy to get your draft kind of separated if you guys aren't in sync with not just the other drivers, but the racetrack with you. Those bumps going into the corner and coming out of the corner, my favorite part of the racetrack.
Navarro actually trying to avoid some of those bumps on the corner entry that time, but here's the also interesting mark is, with it being essentially unrestricted on these trucks, how do you try and manage the temps, since you're going to be setting records if this was run in real life for these trucks?
Yeah, you just got to try to figure out a way to get air on your nose as quick as you can to try to help cool that off just little by little. These guys are doing 227 miles an hour off of corner exit. In the draft, we'll see we're at 230 at the line, flirting with getting over 231, but I think that's going to be where they tap out, is at 230 miles an hour. So this is going to be very, very interesting to see these drivers ripping around at 230 miles an hour, trying to keep their engine temp cool, like you mentioned here. Noticing guys taking a higher exit off of the corner in that second pack back there, and then coming back down to the apron. That's to avoid the bump. A lot of drivers not quite comfortable with taking that bump yet, but the guys up at the front, we've seen Wilson, Maines and company, they're hitting that bump square on. And now a couple drivers on the outside trying to make a move, Zach Adams and Ryan Twinham.
Yes, indeed. They're trying to tandem a little bit. Here comes a bit of a peek now to the outside. The top line starting to form up. John Erst trying to draft to the back end of one of the CGE machines. The MCSA driver not able to get really too much further progress, as here comes the rest of the grouping now bunching back up. Hunter Parsons, Ed Osborne, and several others now back in the main pack after the top 4 had previously broken away by at least 5 truck lanes.
Keep your eye on Parsons in that black and pink 00 truck, currently sitting 4th in line on the bottom. Keep your eye on him. He's a dirt racer primarily here on the server, but he has done very, very well in these straight cash money races as you watch Dobbs and Navarro battle out. Remember, that was a battle for the win at Michigan before they both got in an accident off of turn number 2, which opened the door for Bradley Wilson, who's leading this race right now, to sneak by both of them and get the W. Both Dobbs and Navarro have been hungry for wins all year long, as Wilson straight up stole one from them as they got in the accident at Michigan. Coming to the checker flag, Wilson was able to sneak by a 1-2-3 finish for CGE that day. Question is, can he do it again? Notice we're missing another very key component in CGE this morning. Derek Fulton not in the field tonight in his number 70 truck that we've seen all season long. Look how close Garrett Maines is, right up on the back bumper. The Toyota emblem getting right up there. Wow. Say hello to the radiator of the one truck as he's right up on the bumper of Wilson.
He's basically just about inside him. If anything, just really trying to keep the momentum pushing on forward. Remember, fuel mileage, you talked about, going to be critical here. Maines has been someone that's talked about wanting to take a bit of gambling, a little bit of risks in these types of races. He's taken a couple peeks to the bottom, but just seems committed to sticking to the back bumper of Wilson this morning.
Just look how close he is to the back bumper of Wilson. When you say he's committed to the back bumper, I don't think you get more committed than that. Right up on the bumper. You can't fit a piece of paper between the two trucks right now as they go off into the corner. Wilson's able to break away just a little bit more in the corner because Maines, I've noticed, having a hard time holding the bottom right at the beginning of the corner, but he's able to get it back by the time they come out of the corner. But I've noticed that with Maines the last couple of laps. He's having kind of a hard time holding the bottom over the bump as opposed to Wilson. Let's see what happens here going into the corner. They're going to hit the bump right there. This time Wilson has the problem holding the bottom, so they're kind of jockeying around that bump, trying to figure out exactly what way to attack it, and Maines and Wilson both struggling with it right now.
Keep in mind that the main pack currently has the top 19 separated by 3 seconds. There is a second pack of note where Brian Chu is leading that group, but the problem is they're running nearly a full 3 to 4 tenths slower than the cars you're seeing on screen. Those drivers are losing a ton of time and are running up to 10 miles an hour slower.
But the good news is they are going to have pit stops here soon. I'm looking over the 11 of Brian Chu right now. No, I don't see any damage on him, and I thought maybe he was leading this pack and it was having a little bit of a harder time with speed. I was wondering if maybe that was because Chu had some damage on his Interstate Batteries Toyota Tundra, but I don't see any on the 11 truck. Maybe they're just doing the hang back and wait it out for the first run. Just make sure we get through this first run trouble-free.
The thing is, they're running crazier right back here than they are at the front, to be quite frank, where they've been running 2-3 wide and speeds of 231 miles an hour, while the front of the field's just been running nice and calm.
Yeah, that might be what's causing them to lose ground, is the fact that they're not able to get in a solid line because they've been jockeying it for position, going 3 wide all over the place. Now it looks like this group is beginning to settle down, and we might be able to see them pick up some speed here. Brian Chu getting a big push from Nate Lynch in the 25, so this is going to be the telltale here to see what's going on with this group, if they're just hanging back or if there's might be a problem with Chu's truck, who's leading this group, which is what's causing this to be held up.
Discussions about pit stops coming up. Some of the drivers saying they can go an extra lap here. We'll see which driver stuck down this time. Several are trying to shuffle to the back of the group now. So they now see how they're going to get to the pit lane here. 65 miles an hour is the pit speed. There goes Ryan Twinham. He's one of the first drivers in.
Couple drivers coming down pit road behind him. I think I saw 3 trucks make the left-hander on the pit road, and there they are right now. Twinham, I believe that's Ernest in the 75, trying to get a number on the other one. That's the Davey Allison truck, whoever it is. I believe that is Joseph Allen in the 27 on pit road as well. Troy Thompson and Elliott also on pit road. Snyder as well.
So far green so far. It's a couple drivers you've seen had to back up a little bit in their respective pit boxes. I believe that was Twinham who had to roll back a little bit. He's off and away. And with the amount of time in the tank, it should be no surprise. We'll see a lot of 2 stoppers as a couple cars nearly spun in on the transition coming to the pit lane.
And Bradley Wilson, the race leader, was one of them, and he was still fighting into trying to get it wound down to pit road speed as the whole front pack comes down now, 3 wide on pit road. So very, very big move here, getting on the pit road and not having that incident. And now the rest of the field also coming down. Everybody's coming this lap.
So no major contact for anybody in the field, and what a start to this race. Clean so far. One driver does run over the pit stall line of Andrew Navarro. Rest of the field off and away. Some of them are taking the extra time for some of the tires. Couple no tires though. Sanford and Dobbs to the race lead for the first time.
That's a surprise that they were able to get out in front of Wilson, because I didn't see the right sides go up on Wilson, so I think he was one of those guys who just took fuel only. That surprises me that Dobbs and Sanford and even Ed Osborne were able to get out in front of Wilson there.
Wilson with some real-world racing experience in various different cars, from a Coupe Legends car to sedan Legends cars as well. He's now someone that's lost some time to Alan Dobbs, one of your drivers in the midst for the season championship. Running the King of the Hill paint scheme for today's race, in fact, as well. But here's the downside of that good exit. Everybody else is saying hello on the outside to him.
That's the lead, or including Christian Sanford in the number 28. Remember, he was fastest in practice here today with that huge run that he got. He's going to take the lead away. He's got Bradley Wilson with him, though, so Wilson wants this lead back. Top four broken away right now. Wilson with a nice run on the outside, using the side draft to try to get around Sanford in the number 28. Not going to work this time. Wilson's going to fall back a little bit and try to fall in behind Osborne here in fourth. So Christian Sanford, who has made his way up to the front every single week thus far near the end of the race, but has had something go sour on the number 28 every single weekend, leading laps now at iRacing Super Speedway, and this is much needed for him as he just wants to get some laps led and have a good run.
Don't forget, we also talked about drivers like Twin M with that extra little incentive for the halfway mark, so that may add a little bit of intensity there. As speaking of intensity, big run for Garrett Maines, broke away from Taylor Peacock to be able to draft right up to the back end of these trucks once again. Peacock does have their slipstream. Zach Adams also is in that potential grouping to catch up. Everybody else has lost more than a second.
That's just how important getting off and on pit road is. I mean, we saw how close that group was coming down pit road. You're on board with Garrett Maines, who's hooked up again with Bradley Wilson, and this time, this is what Wilson needed. Last time he took a shot at the race lead, he needed someone behind him to get a little bit more of a draft. As you see him, he's able to get by Osborne, able to get by Dobbs. Dobbs fights back on the inside here, but he's going to have a better shot here on corner exit, as Maines able to get a run. Plus, Dobbs lost the back bumper of Sanford for a moment, and that is what he needed right there. Wilson and Maines back 1 and 2 now. Maines not quite clear, though, and here comes Peacock. He's going to catch on to that slipstream. That's how Sanford was able to run that quick lap right there. He was lagging back just enough to get a huge run. That inside lane, though, is kind of spread apart. We'll see what that does. Ooh, Maines and Wilson got apart just a little bit also, and that's going to allow Sanford and Dobbs to clear him.
And we'll see if they go back in the line here on that top line. Some verbiage going on over the radio amongst those drivers. Keep in mind, Osborne and Dobbs also working together for their respective race. Sanford looking for some friends. Dobbs wanting to look for the lead. No, big run on the top line once again.
Trying to get that run on the top, Wilson and Maines. See what happens. Peacock is closing in. I think another half lap, and Peacock's right there in the mix as well. He's trying to figure out who to go with, Maines or Osborne right now. Those are the two at the tail end that Peacock has to choose from. Watch the slipstream he's able to slip into right here and get this huge run going down the front stretch. He'll be caught up to the bumpers of these guys. Question is, though, who does he elect to go with? Maines or Wilson or the inside line? We got trouble.
Garrett Maines around in the middle of the racetrack. Caution flag is out for the first time. And wow, was trying to line up to the back bumper, I believe, of Bradley Wilson, and around went Wilson on the corner entry across some of the bumps.
And that's just how dangerous this track can be with the contact. You have to be right up there. I mean, even Maines and Wilson, two guys who had been in sync with each other the whole time. Ooh, Dobbs caught the apron, knocking him up into Wilson, and the guy who got the worst of it is Garrett Maines in the number 1. Not a whole lot of damage on the number 1, Justin, so I think with how long these caution laps are, I think he may be able to save the fast repair for this one.
We'll see if he elects to use the faster pair. Wilson does have some back-end damage as well. For Dobbs, no contact in that incident as well there. So, this could put a wrench in some of those numbers we talked about a little bit now, where how do you play this now since some of these cars are already halfway through their fuel stints?
Here's another question. Some of these drivers that took tires, that was 5 green flag pit stops that we were anticipating here. Cautions is going to play a different role in that. If you took a set of tires, which we saw a few drivers do you take one now and risk running out of tires later? Because you're only halfway through a tire run as well.
We'll see how these drivers play this out as into the lane it looks like they come for their respective fuel opportunities. But Sanford, a big time amount of space to Dobbs. Dobbs, a shockingly big backup from the driver who entered first into the lane. Normally, you can go much, much, much more closer than what he did.
Yeah, kind of curious to see what the mindset of Dobbs is right now as the drivers pull into their pit stalls.
And for the second time already, the 2 machine, you see, overruns his stall a little bit as Navarro is that driver, but Sanford's off and away. Ernst overruns his stall. It's Sanford, Navarro, Parsons, Critchley, Jensen, the top 5. And of note, damage you can get if you slam that apron to the suspension. It's similar to tracks in the past, such as Pocono. As these drivers make their way around the circuit, we are under caution for the first time, coming up to 50 laps to go. Take a quick step aside. You're watching LSRTV for coverage of straight cash money from iRacing Super Speedway.
ETE Reman is the world's best remanufacturer of transmissions for import and domestic cars and trucks. Based in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, our customers are repair shops, auto parts stores, dealerships, and distributors. And with 6 nationwide warehouses, we're where and when you need us. So when you're looking for a transmission that is like new, only better, instill confidence and install ETE Reman.
Welcome back to iRacing Super Speedway, where Christian Sanford is your leader at the moment. Over Andrew Navarro, Parsons, Critchley, Jensen, Garrett Maines in 6th after the race off the pit lane. Justin Prince Greg went with you, with Charles Wooden in the director's seat as several more trucks selected come down for additional service here. Keep in mind that there is significant damage for a couple different drivers from hitting some of the banking, others from that caution flag incident, others with back-end damage, and as well, for those wanting that extra incentive for the halfway mark put up by the 89 truck, this is a chance to top off and get towards that mark, potentially without having to stop before that halfway point of the race. Greg, things are going to get even more intriguing from here, especially if, say, you have to dodge an incident, go hard on that banking. That could disincentivize some drivers from trying to go down there to avoid some big ones.
Yeah, you're going to see different strategies here. A green flag right now would put us just about at that mark that you can get to the halfway point on fuel. So drivers taking every chance they get to get some fuel in their truck and get just that much more in. Garrett Maines coming back down, does get some damage repaired this time on the number 1 Toyota, so he's got a little bit of damage repaired. Still got quite a bit left, but saving that fast repair for later on in the race. He's going to be a guy to keep an eye on, not just to see if he can get through the field, but I'm curious how that truck's going to drive now with that damage in the or on the front of the 1 truck.
Delayed green coming up this time, so there will be an additional pace lap here. But some of these drivers who have taken advantage of this are probably smiling a little bit. They're the first time for some of them up at the front, like Clint Mata. He's up 25 spots. Jeff Snyder up 20 spots. Plus 14 for Brian Shu. He was, remember, that driver leading that second pack that had lost nearly 5+ seconds. So several different drivers who lost a ton of time early, they got their timely caution flag to get back into it.
They needed it, and they got it.
And they're topping off again for that halfway mark, it looks like. Much of the field electing to go for that halfway total, looks like. Sanford, Parsons, Chu, Wilson, both the Lynches, Navarro, Critchley. Just about everybody coming down in additional time with the additional pace lap here. There'll be 48 laps to go when we get green. But Dobbs and Osborne have elected to stay on the racetrack and control the field as a result of this strategy split.
So we'll see how it goes. Remember, we said they can make it just about to halfway on fuel. It's within half a lap or so. If these guys can save just a little bit on the start of this race, they'll be able to go. I'm betting you some drivers are driving around pace laps up in fourth gear right now, trying to save as much fuel as they can.
Or turning off their engine entirely and just trying to clutch and coast it.
Yeah, it's so many different things you can do now on the iRacing server to save fuel like this. So this is going to be very, very interesting here in about 10 laps or so if we go green to the halfway point. This is going to be wild. We're going to have to keep an extra sharp eye on who leads lap 35.
Yes, indeed. It's going to be intriguing. Again, keep in mind, race control is clarifying to confirm whoever crosses the line at lap 35 and lap 35 will get that total. We talked about the extra $10 prize on top of the $50 for the winner, 40 for second, third for third, fourth for 20th, fourth is $20, fifth gets $10 for the end of the race. iRacing pace car is off. The trucks are ready. Dobbs off and away, green flag.
On Dobbs clears Osborne on the restart. It's out front, so it's time to go. If you want to get that halfway bonus, you got to hold on for 12 laps. $10 on the line if you can lead lap number 35, about 13 laps away.
And already with the big run is Mata. He's looking to lead for the first time today. Has a little bit of help starting to wind up behind him. Joseph Allen, who started in the mid-pack, now with a big shove coming to the 82.
Two drivers we haven't seen up at the front pretty much all day. Mata started back in 30th, Allen in 12th. Here they are running up on the top line. J.R. Miller making a peek as well. Miller was in the mix at the end of last week's race at Daytona. He wants some redemption after being caught up in that accident. Dobbs is going to lead this lap as the inside lane kind of got spread apart off of turn number 4 there. Outside lane trying to hook up now as a third truck joins that fray. Make it 2 as that truck goes down to the bottom. Believe that was Snyder in the 999.
Drivers who were among the cars in trucks rather who pit are 2 to 3 wide coming off some of the corners. The front of the field staying single file for the most part. Still, Osborne and Dobbs among the drivers controlling the pack. Keep in mind that the separation we had just noted a little while ago is gone. And contact.
We got problems. Big wreck.
Michael Anthony up and over. Caution flag is out as he is up 15, 20 feet above the ground.
Another couple drivers involved. Garrett Main's got a piece of it as well in the number 1. I think that may force his hand to have to take his fast repair now, as we had a huge wreck going into turn number 3, and it started right around 10th spot. Here we're going to take a look at it. Watch Anthony in the 8. He's outside of Troy Thompson there in the green 88.
Your latest candidate for the iRacing Space Station program. This. And that is way up above the ground. That was Tory Thompson, who hit him on the left side and sent him up into the sky.
Thompson got a pretty big shot as well. Let's watch the 88 truck as well. You saw what happened with Anthony here. Keep your eyes on that green number 88 truck, because after that happened, he got caught up again with Garrett Maines in that blue truck behind him. Watch as they go off into the turn. There's the initial contact, and then right as you see Anthony going, you see the smoke. That's from Thompson going hard in the wall as well. Anthony took flight, but man, Thompson met that outside wall pretty hard.
Very hard. Let's take a look at this.
Look at it.
Yes,
this is what I saw. I saw the 8 truck go flying, but I was actually watching Garrett Maines, trying to see how he was driving with the damage on his truck when this happened. There's the initial contact, and then right there's the second contact, and then bam.
And that's Kevin Howellman, who goes right underneath him with no damage recorded at all somehow in that entire incident with two different trucks he had to dodge. That has led to a majority of the field pitting except for a couple. Clint Mata, Jay Jensen have elected not to come down. Everybody else has come in for fuel. Approaching 10 laps to halfway.
Yeah, we know we can get to halfway on fuel now, so I think those are going to be your last fuel stop before the halfway point. We know we're good on fuel from here.
If you want the $10, absolutely. And looks like at least one or a couple trucks at least. Quick stop, 6 seconds. Dobbs, Osborne, Miller, Snyder, Maines. The race off the pit lane.
And Maines did take the fast repair this time.
Well, we had to with some of the damage, but it's going to be interesting. The strategy call here for Mata and Jensen to stay out on the racetrack. They are 6 laps and 4 laps on their fuel respectively, including these caution flag laps.
Good news for them, though, is these caution laps mean the tires aren't quite as used up as, say, 6 to 4 laps on green flag conditions. So they've got a little bit of an advantage there. The thing is, though, can they make it on fuel?
And how this is going to play out if it goes green is the big kicker. Understand the track position game here being played here, Greg, but it's going to be interesting if they don't get what they're looking for in about 5 laps. Again, to reset your top 10, it's Mata, Jensen, Dobbs, Osborne, Miller, Snyder, Garrett Maines, Ernst, Joseph Allen, Navarro. Your top 10 among the air drivers still getting some repairs at the moment, or McCoy. And Thompson is still in the lane. Anthony has already finished up his service after flying to the moon. He's back from his trip from space. He is now on the racetrack 1 lap down, needing a caution flag to get the lucky dog position.
I think they have McDonald's in space. They're everywhere else. You think there's one up there?
I don't know how to answer that question.
We'll have to ask him, hey, did you find the space Big Mac up there? While you're up there, we'll have to ask him that. Lights are out on the pace car. Mata leading, Jensen second, Dobbs, Osborne, Miller, your top 5. Remember, the top 2, Mata and Jensen, stayed out on that round of pit stop, so this is going to be very, very interesting.
A couple more have also topped off. Navarro, Bellini, Sanford, Parsons, Jason Maines, Critchley have elected to get fuel, along with Zach Adams, Taylor Peacock as well. Peacock, of note, is the driver with the quickest time in the entire race so far. And we've seen already and talked about how crazy it has been for the drivers who want to be on the aggressive marks here. Now knowing that drivers have felt themselves out, they've had 2 quick caution flags here, how this goes the rest of the way here. Your opinion, Greg, on how this could play out?
It all depends on what Mata and Jensen are able to do on this first few laps. If they can keep these guys behind them, they may have a shot if they can get into draft mode and conserve fuel like madmen here for the first couple laps. But if Dobbs and Osborne and company are able to get by them, then I think they're just going to say, you know what, we're just going to have to forego that plan and just try to get ready for the race win.
Drivers all set to get going. iRacing pace car is off. The trucks are ready. The green flag's up. Back and away. And Dobbs bottled up that time of the launch. Forces near 3 wide as Miller forced to check up hard.
Here comes Maines. Maines saw the middle open up. He said, okay, thank you, sir. I'm going to take that. I'm going to fall in line 3rd on the outside. Now I'm going to go for 2nd. Boy, Garrett Maines slicing and dicing through the field, getting right up there with Jay Jensen in that 32. He's 0-2 on screen, 32 on screen, 0-2 on ticker. Regardless, Garrett Maines is just bulldozing up the middle. New leader down the backstretch. Not quite. Thought Garrett Maines was going to be able to clear Mata, but he's hooked up with Dobbs on the inside there. That's going to give him just enough to keep Maines at bay for now.
Yeah, but the thing is, some of those drivers have been willing to work with Maines, especially with some of the knowledge he's had in some of these races. Big shove on the high side. And Garrett Maines back to the race lead. 42 to go.
He's leading again, about 7 laps from halfway right now, as the field tries to make their way up there. And this is the kind of stuff we expected to see at the start of this race, but they settled down really quickly at the start, but they are going for it now. They know they're trying to get themselves in position for $10, courtesy of Rev Racing. If they lead lap 35, we're working lap 29 now.
Wilson's back up there. Here comes Christian Sanford all the way from the very back of the field. He's currently trying to take a few with him. Daniel Hendry among the drivers moving up. And a bit of contact once again up the racetrack, 3 wide.
Osborne was the big loser in that one. He's going to get shuffled to the back. Great job there by both Jensen and Maines to hold on to it there. That almost got scary between Maines and Jensen. And Osborne was the big loser there as he's shuffled on the outside. He's trying to fall back in line now. He's going to lose a lot of ground.
Some of these drivers very nervous about trying to side draft into the corners with some of these bobbles and the bumps. Here comes Sanford now for the lead. He brings Andrew Navarro for a huge shove as a huge push from behind again for Maines. 3 wide, several rows deep.
Here's my question, though. Is Navarro trying to get hooked up with Maines, whether he's in front of him or Maines in front? Navarro and Maines have worked together pretty much every single week, and it's been a matter of time before they get hooked up. Are they trying to find themselves again right now? Here they are. Maines going down to the bottom. He's going to have help from Mata. Sanford's going to go up and try to pick up Navarro again. Maines to the inside. 5 laps from halfway. And Maines gets the nose back in front. Mata trying to get a run up, though, into number 82 on the inside. Seems to be working better for him, this fuel strategy does, than it does Jensen, as Jensen was shuffled back. Navarro now giving the push to Sanford as Parsons comes up the middle. Sanford leaves Navarro. We got a wreck, and they are wrecking behind him, and they all scoot down to the apron, but we do have a caution.
Alan Dobbs involved and several others spinning at the bottom of the racetrack. That is after contact between J.R. Miller and one of the Ryko machines who is trying to cut up the middle. And one of the drivers who had to use an earlier fast repair involved in that one. This takes us to halfway as well under this caution flag. Let's take a look.
I think Miller was trying to get down and get a side draft off the 71 that was coming up through the middle, and unfortunately for him, he was already there as they continued to rack all the way into turn 3. Take another look at that.
That was Bradley Wilson getting hit on the inside line. See all those trucks stay around and just they see the opportunity. There is a Ryko truck that is trying to get a move through the middle to hook up at the 28. Try to join him. That attempt failed as Miller tried to save it. Still ends up getting a below motor. Why? Because of this.
Ooh. That was retaliation right there.
We'll see if that gets reviewed.
That was Zach Adams in the white 71. No, Zach Adams is in the black 71. We have a couple different.
Daniel.
That's Daniel Hendra. Daniel
Yes.
Hendra.
You see right there. Wow.
No ifs, ands, or buts about that one.
We'll see what's decided upon that one, as everyone else for the most part is coming in except for a couple. We talked about it. Garrett Maines, Andrew Navarro thinking about the potential dollar amounts, while everyone else going for the fuel.
Yeah, I think we might see green flag on lap 35, maybe. If not, then Maines is going to take home $10.
Drivers off and away, majority once again topping off on the gas, trying to save their tire sets. We'll take a quick step aside. Coverage of Straight Cash Money is currently reaching the halfway mark in just a few moments here on LSRTV.
We're based out of West Monroe, Louisiana. We do custom t-shirts, racing. We'll do any shirt. We'll do schools, churches, fundraisers. We do a ton of event shirts, as you can see on our board here, all around our banner. personalized. I mean, we do anything. It doesn't matter to us. We got the custom rugs. We use all the, top quality shirts, inks and everything, hoodies, hats. We do embroidered hats, embroidered shirts. Just you can call us for anything. We do offer the bag and fold to where you can receive them and they're already labeled and tagged and bagged, ready to give out to your customers. So you just call us and just tell us, hey, this is what we're looking at doing. And if we're going to put the car on there, it is 125 quantity minimum. If it's without the car, it's 60 quantity minimum. That's strictly on the racing stuff. If it's a business or something, if you race on Texas shirts, it's a little bit differently. You can call us. It just depends on your quantity and ink colors. Everything is hand drawn. I mean, everything. We don't Photoshop anything onto a shirt or anything like that. Everything that we go through, everything is drawn, and which is the reason for the art fees. We do have several graphic artists that draw for us, and they're really good. So what we do is on any package that you do, we can mix and match. We can do any colors. You can do purple, red, blue, green, and do the rest black. It doesn't matter to us. With your design on there, we can do hoodies. We can do hoodies, long sleeve shirts, t-shirts, tank tops. It doesn't matter. I mean, it's almost limitless what you can do, and you can put all that together in that package to make that minimum requirements. They can call us 318-278-7191, or they can email us at bulletprooftees at yahoo.com, or they can go to the website bulletprooftees.com.
Welcome back to iRacing Super Speedway, where it's going to be a one-lap shootout to reach halfway for today's action. $10 on the line for halfway today. Justin Prince alongside Greg Rentz with Charles Wooden in the director's seat. Again, Garrett Maines, Andrew Navarro electing to stay out for that $10 total. Everyone else took gas and is thinking about the big picture for the overall race, Greg.
So, different strategies once again, and get ready because $10 on the line, courtesy of Rev Racing. Bellini has made his way up into the top 5 now as well. In his number 51 truck, Darren Hallman there as well. First time we've seen those two at the front all night. But here we go. Pace cars in. One lap shootout for $10. Then we get the second half underway, and this is going to get wild here. Here we go.
Those are teammates hooked up on the top line, but some pushes being built up on the bottom line. Green flags out. One lap to halfway for straight cash money. And a good launch for Maines on the bottom side with the help of Sanford. Those drivers on the top line, though, really trying hard to tandem draft for the back straightaway.
See if they get a run. Remember, the outside has been really strong on corner exits. Sanford realizes this, tries to go to pick up Navarro, who leaves him in the dust to go to the inside. Nice move by Navarro to get hooked up with Maines. And this is what I was talking about before that caution came out. Navarro and Maines have been trying to find each other all day because they've hooked up every single week. Looks like they're doing it again. Meanwhile, the teammates to each of those drivers, Jason Maines and Pete Bellini, they're hooked up on the outside. Here we go through turn 3 and 4. $10 to the leader of this lap. Whoever gets to the line first. Hallman wants a shot at it as well. And that's going to give it to Maines.
Caution flag is out as Navarro tries to edge himself forward, but the back half of the field all crashes. So Garrett Maines gets the halfway mark total. This is why the caution came out before the drag race down the front stretch.
Watching Miller. Oh, no, right there. Contact between the 15 and the 23. That's 27 on screen. And there's the big hit after that we saw.
That's Rob Green. So Rob Green ends up being the one who hits the transition again. You don't give enough space for the drivers when they push up on that bottom line. We've seen all day today. It can cause some problems. See right there the contact.
Now we're getting into that mode. Sorry, Justin. We're getting into that spot or zone where now these guys are, most of them having to take a fast repair. But now now we're starting to see drivers who may have already had to take a repair get some damage as well. So we might start seeing drivers fall out gradually here.
Well, Maines and Navarro have to come in. They would have had to pit in a couple laps. They got their wish of a quick caution. Everybody else now looking to match the strategy as a result here, it looks like. And now, how do you play this out for how many pit stops remaining? About 2?
Making me do math. I think you can go on. I think you can go on 3 more. I don't know if about 2. It's close for the 3rd stop. It would, if you tried the 2-stopper strategy, you would be right around that fuel run window at the time of the checkered.
Yep. You have to keep in mind that there is the potential for caution flags with how things have intensified. As of note, a few drivers elected to stay out because the quick caution flag. Brian Lynch, Nate Lynch, Kyle McCoy, Brian Shue, John Elliott have all elected to stay on the racetrack this time. A couple of them do have some damage, so they may come in, but they only pit a couple laps ago, so you can understand the reasoning here.
Yeah, definitely can see why. And not only that, you don't have to worry about that $10 bonus anymore. That's locked up. Garrett Maines is taking home $10 courtesy of Rev Racing. So now you're setting yourself up for the big win, the big prize, $50 for the winner of this one. So you don't have to worry about the little bonus money now. Now you just go for the win. So why not take a chance?
By the way, Brian Twinham now in that grouping of drivers who did not take service under this caution. Garrett Maines, first those drivers. John Elliott having to let drivers go as the lucky dog, it appears, under the last caution. The drivers eligible for that are Daniel Hendry, who is still 1 lap down. Hunter Parsons, who is 1 lap down. Rob Green, who was involved in the caution flag, is also 1 lap down at the moment, as there goes Twinham for his respective service. When a go signal expected this time by here on the racetrack, and it looks like Brian and Nate Lynch, along with McCoy and Shue, will stay out, it appears, despite the damage for Brian Lynch's race truck.
Gutsy call.
How bad do you think that could affect him on this launch with how much drag there could be up there?
I think it's going to be pretty significant here on this one. I think it all depends on who's lined up behind him, which looks like is going to be the 30 of McCoy. And does McCoy know about that damage that Lynch has?
We'll see. Who do you like for the second half of the race? It's the big question too, Greg.
Well, look who's worked his way up to 4th. The guy I always seem to find myself talking about every race. Brian Shue has made his way up to the front. Remember, he was leading that second pack earlier, and he knows how to get himself up to the front for the second half. I like what he's able to do every week, but man, right now, it's hard to go against Maines and Navarro and what they've been able to do, and now they're hooked up together on the inside line. That's going to be hard to go against Maines and Navarro. Remember, Navarro is still searching for that first win of the year in this series, but has been in the mix every week along with Garrett Maines. Hard to go against those two right now.
Have to agree with you on that in terms of what we've seen from Garrett Maines with his racing pedigree, where he's been dominant in the sim for many years, as well as what else. The funny thing is with Navarro, if you look at his bio on iRacing, one of his main keys is he once beat Garrett Maines and passed him and said meows. Yes, you heard that correctly. That's Navarro's smile to fame, based out of Miami.
That explains so much. Based off what we've seen Navarro do over the last couple of weeks, that explains so much.
Green flag's back out, and the damage truck with a bit of a good launch, actually, but now the speed sees Maines drive right on by Kyle McCoy, 3 wide for the lead and taking it away.
Garrett Maines bringing Navarro with him right up the middle, and they're going to get hooked up there on the bottom. Justin, I'm sure you're wondering what I'm talking about. The last couple of races, Navarro has had a tendency to, at random times, just start meowing in the middle of the race. So that explains so much over the last couple of weeks. Even last week, he was singing to the drivers under caution. So that answers a lot of questions.
A great launch for them either way because of everything else. Right behind them, there is a ton of traffic, 2-3 wide. Everybody else having a hard time getting past some of the drivers who stayed out.
And one of them trying to make a move up through the middle is the 21 of Kevin Hallman, the Napa Auto Parts entry. He's trying to make a move on the bottom. Looks like he's going to try to get hooked up with Osborne here as he's going to get around Lynch in the 24. He's got Dobbs right behind him now. I'm watching Hallman in that Napa 21 try to make his way up front. Might lose the spot to Dobbs here as they just try to get settled down. Maines and Navarro have broken away, but not for long because here comes the rest of the pack, which is being led by Darren Hallman in the 99, Clint Mata back up front. Pete Bellini making his way back up now. Here comes Osborne as well. 6-truck breakaway at the front, and they're trying to shuffle Mata.
Remember back in the days where you would see drivers put big text Pete all over the hood of some of these trucks, including Bellini himself. Now, Pete Bellini up inside the top 4, has one of his teammates still in second spot at the moment. Ed Osborne's worked his way up at the front again, though. Alan Dobbs, keep an eye on him, is about to close up onto these drivers as well. It's going to be valuable points as well on the line. Garrett Maines currently in that dogfight for the championship lead going to the finale at the moment. J.R. Miller's all the way at the very back of the field in 19th position after some of the incidents as Mata getting shuffled out.
Ooh, and it got dicey back there in pack. Speaking of that finale, Justin, Garrett Maines is going to be very happy knowing that for the finale, it's Cup cars at Talladega, just like the opener, which Garrett Maines picked up the victory in. So Maines is going to be very happy knowing he's got to win there this season. If he can do it again, he will most likely have himself a great points day and have a great shot at the championship if he can do that again. A win here at the iRacing Super Speedway, that could just help elevate him.
Possibly. Friends still working together well as Hunter Parsons joins the fight. Parsons hooking up now with Bellini on the top line after he got a massive run, passed by 5 trucks in the span of 1 straightaway.
Out on the front stretch to the line, going to begin lap number 43 of 70 here. So under 30 laps to go, and now that outside lane really beginning to get cooking on the outside with Pete Bellini leading the way. Hunter Parsons there, not anymore. Bellini gets shuffled up top. Parsons and Osborne inherit the top of that line.
Friends are where they find them, and right now some of the friends are trying to shuffle out their non-friends, to say the very least. As Bellini right now is currently the meat in the sandwich for some of these drivers. He's now having a checkup from behind. Jason Maines now trying to work on the high side. That's Curtis Critchley. We've seen the work between one of the CGE cars and Garrett Maines, the very front of the field. Now one of the other CGE cars working with Jason Maines, as here comes another run coming behind as well, as everyone else tries to single file out to the front.
Things beginning to settle down just a little bit here because these drivers realizing, you know, hey, we still have over 25 laps to go. And Parsons going below the yellow line here off of turn number 4 in that 00.
A little bit
turn number
snaky.
2, excuse me.
Yeah, pardon, a little bit snaky, was just about to say on that. Some drivers right behind some of these competitors starting to get really dicey. Michael Anthony, one of the Bozo Racing trucks, just got shuffled hard from the bottom line to the top line and crashed to the front. Hard contact with the wall. That's Navarro involved.
Parsons was the other driver. We stay green. I don't know how Navarro held on to that truck. I really don't.
Navarro loses several positions as a result. Garrett Maines holds on to the lead. Significant damage to the back end of Navarro. Parsons hit a huge ton to the right side wall as well. But now, Garrett Maines, he's now having to work with Jay Jensen and Ed Osborne. Here comes Christian Sanford, 3 wide middle. 25 to go this time.
Ooh, almost gets into Jensen.
And Osborne really bottomed out. A bit of a squeeze now from Jensen. Lap traffic is ahead. Bradley Wilson is the next truck they have to lap. Wilson moving to the high side.
They come up, keep your eyes on that fourth truck in line. Alan Dobbs, the 45. He knows how to get it done. Been in the mix every week. Here he is once again, top 5.
Some of those trucks really squeezed that lap machine we talked about, but here comes Sanford with the peak. Sanford's been on the aggressive marks all day long. Dobbs now to that back bumper. Oh, and Dobbs again hit the apron. Caution. And it is Zach Adams, the 71. He had ran the fastest lap of that time by before, and now he is in the grass with the caution flag.
Take a look at what happened. He's hooked up with the other 71. That is Daniel Hindra, 26 on your ticker. That's Hallman, the Napa 21 we were watching earlier.
And a lot of these drivers were involved in some of the Space Cadet moments before. Here's another one.
Ow. Perfect landing, too. Give the landing 9 out of 10.
So significant damage for obvious reasons on that truck, and puts us back in our yellow again with one stop to get to the end from here if everyone comes down like we may expect here. And a longest line penalty, though, for Hindra for that contact, it looks like. Again, second incident he's been involved in today.
So, see how it goes from here on.
We'll see. And already it's looking like some of these drivers thinking about that they were right towards the mark where they had to pit in about a couple laps anyway, Greg.
24 to go. If fuel runs are 12 laps, they would be setting themselves up for one more stop to the end. So now with this caution, that's pretty much going to lock them in one more stop from here, as we're going to restart with around 22 to go or so. That'll lock us into one more fuel stop. The question, though, is tires. These guys have been taking fuel only for a majority of the race, so how many sets of tires do these guys have on pit road left?
That's going to be the big question mark of how some of the drivers may have divided the right side tires, since they have essentially full set, 5 sets total in the race, 4 in the pits available for these competitors. Mains hits the marks, everyone hits the marks. And it looks like fuel only for a lot of the drivers. Sanford electing to take some right side tires. Dobbs jumps up to second. And that could be dangerous for how Mains wants to play this race now, since Dobbs and Osborne have also been working very well together today. Coming up to 22 laps to go, this time by under caution at iRacing Superspeedway. We'll take a step aside once again. You're watching LSRTV for coverage of straight cash money. One pit stop to make it to the end on Gas from Here.
BB Squared from Big and J Long Range Attractants. BB Squared is an 18% protein. It's got your crude fat and your vitamins and your minerals that deer absolutely need for nutrition. It's got a powerful aroma that draws deer from far and wide. Put it in front of your trail camera, put it in front of your stand. Ultimately, BB Squared will increase your success rate out in the woods. BB Squared from Big and J Long Range Attractants.
Welcome back to the virtual iRacing Superspeedway, where Garrett Mains is your race leader at the moment, looking for his second victory of the season. Alan Dobbs, Ed Osborne, Christian Sanford, Jay Jensen, Clint Mata. Your top 6 with Hellman, Polini, Mains, and Peacock also top 10, with several more electing to top off before this green flag. Justin Prince alongside Greg Rentz with Charles Wooden in the director's seat in what has been a race that's lived up to a lot of the expectations. Mixes of calm periods, Greg, but also mixes of 2 to 3 and 4 wide insanity.
And I think for the remainder of this race, Justin, it's going to be the latter. Because it's go time. 22 laps to go. $50 to the winner. Yeah, there's no more hanging it out and waiting now. It's go time now. So I think the intensity is going to ramp up even more from here on.
Who do you think this plays into the most then overall, this type of racing with these closing stages for this, from what you've seen this season?
What we've seen this season, don't be surprised if the 31 of Jason Maines can pick up back-to-back wins here. He's up in 7th right now, and remember, he was able to get himself up to the front, get himself in position, and get it done. That's Garrett in the 1, but Jason Maines in the 31, winner last week at Daytona, in position to maybe do it again if something goes his way. I'm going to keep my eye on him for this finish.
See how it plays out for the LSR Esports machines, indeed. Keep my eye on as well on those Phantom CGE machines. You have Critchley, who is in 8th position at the moment for that camp. Keep in mind, some of the drivers did have faster pairs for them or towards the back end of the field for their groupings as well. Coming up to the restart, 21 to go. Maines and Dobbs on the front row, Osborne and Mata, Polini and Howman, Peacock and Jason Maines, Critchley, Snyder. iRacing pace car is off. Green flag back up in the air.
Go.
And a really slow start this time.
21 laps to go for Garrett Maines. Coming up on the outside, watch Pete Polini in that 51. Always a threat, but has been caught up in incidents just about every week. But looking at making that outside lane work. Down into turn number 3. Going to get a big run off the corner exit, I believe, if he can get down in front of Clint Mata, which he will. He's going to get a run down. New contact back there. And we got a wreck on the backstretch. No caution yet as they're below the apron, but we do have spinners.
We stay green. Andrew Navarro. Navarro, yes. The 7 Seas machine involved as there was a major squeeze effect where they were 4 wide with Christian Stanford trying to shoot it up the middle. Up towards the front, though. Maines still hugging that yellow line, trying to make sure no one gets underneath them with a run. Dobbs and Osborne still hooking up that middle line, starting to slow down a touch. Some others trying to get the top line to work as near contact again on the aprons.
They're dicing it now. Maines, Dobbs, Osborne, your top 3, with Modern Hallman top 5 as they try to work things out here. Outside lane not going at this moment. Pete Polini shuffled all the way back to 9th after getting up to the door of Maines and Osborne at the start of that run. Mata goes to the outside in the 82. He tries to get a run on the outside of Osborne.
Looked like he had a bit of the transition as well as a result of those bumps. Here comes Jason Maines, though. He's now starting to push forward. The 31 truck just dived underneath the 999. Boxed in, though, with Polini.
On the outside, Jeff Snyder trying to get a run up going. He's going to lose that momentum into the corner. Dobbs tried it on the outside. That's going to open the door for Osborne to get to the inside of him and make a run down. And contact! And there goes Mata. And Osborne. We stay green, and Osborne gets the lead.
There's the caution. Crash down the back.
Mata, excuse me.
Crash down the back straightaway, you've seen just the wank there as the battle for the lead went on. Osborne takes the lead. Mata, as mentioned with Dobbs, both crash. And now we're under caution.
Taking a look at it. It was Dobbs and Mata that had the contact. Right there. They spin down. Osborne used that to get a run on the outside. Now, this is all good. We stay green here because they're below that yellow line. Problem comes when I believe Mata washed up onto the racing surface.
Those cars, significant damage. Those trucks, rather, could take them out of contention in this one. And now it gets tight on the fuel if there isn't more caution flags. We may see a ton of people topping off. Osborne, though, to the lead for the first time today.
Osborne just trying to click laps away now from here on. Doing a fantastic job all day. Kept it clean, and now he had gotten the lead right before that caution came out, so he will be scored as the leader. Maines second, Snyder, Jason Maines, Taylor Peacock now your top 5.
We'll see how the strategy now plays out. 17 to go this time. Several drivers trying to sort themselves out at the moment. Of note, Thompson officially is out of the race. Here's your first official DNF. Adams, Green, Parsons, Mata are currently in the garage area for repairs as here come the pit stops.
And I don't think this is enough to get there on fuel. I think they're still going to need one more stop if we go green the rest of the way.
Snyder really backed up on that entry onto the pit lane by at least 10-15 truck lengths. That's going to solidify Maines and Osborne as 1-2 down the pit lane here.
Fuel coming down. Different strategies. Everyone just going with fuel. Only a couple drivers taking tires here. I've been kind of surprised. The lack of tires here. Is that just because the tires are holding up well enough that they don't really have to worry about it?
Garrett Maines first off the lane, but the thought process has to be for this, Greg, the amount of time it takes to fill the tank for these trucks, in turn is going to be shorter than the amount of time it takes to take the tires by about a second.
These drivers thinking track position. We have another official driver dropping out of the race. It's Hunter Parsons in the 00. He has loaded up on the trailer and is ready to head on to Talladega for the next race. Going to head back to the shop, swap out the truck for the Cup car for the finale at Dega next week.
Let's get it sorted back out. As we'll take a quick step aside, LSRTV's coverage of Straight Cash Money continues right after this. This time by, and fasten your seatbelts. It's about to get interesting. 15 to go when the green flag flies. Drivers right now are outside the projected fuel window. However, the trend has said, when you can't make it on gas, expect craziness. And there has been some craziness today from the mid-pack onward, Greg, today, and sometimes up at the very tip of the field. Justin Prince, Greg Rins, Charles Wooden with you as, man, today has been fun.
It has been fun. It has been wild, and we're not done yet because we still have more than an entire fuel run left in this race, and it's getting dicey and dicey and dicey every single lap. We are nowhere close to done yet.
Yeah, very, very dicey indeed, to the point where everyone's having diced tomatoes at the moment, probably in the trucks. I joke. But right now, some of these drivers ready not to joke around because look at that. The LSRTV sports machines are going to be hooked up on the bottom after that caution flag period.
This is very similar to what we saw at Daytona last week, that Jason Maines in that 31 was able to get the victory. Hooked up with his son on the bottom there. This is playing out very similarly to what we saw at Daytona last week. The question is, can it continue?
We'll see as the iRacing pace car is off. Maines and Osborne, Maines and Jensen, the first two rows, off and away they go. And a good launch for Garrett Maines. Jason Maines a little bit more bogged down on the gas. Osborne electing not to fill the hole quite yet.
Jensen trying to force his way in front of Snyder, does so. The Ryko driver trying to get a run on the back bumper of Jason Maines, who's trying to hook up with his son Garrett. Down the backstretch, inside line seems to be where you want to be right now, as Osborne trying to hold on and not get shuffled. Unfortunately, he might get freight trained here on the top.
He's really trying hard to side draft. J.R. Miller also jumping up to the top line as well to try and join him. There's the little bit of the risk there. Some of those trucks now sliding up big time, nearly smacking into a couple that time as Peacock. 3 wide as a result of some of the bobbling.
Settling down up front. Top 6 have broken away single file. Make it 7.
Several drivers like Clint Mata, who has gotten some repairs done, trying to charge their way through the pack. Oh, and contact. Hard to the wall. Caution flag is out again.
And Pete Polini, I think it was him, when we are flying all over the racetrack now. Polini's tumbling in the 51. I saw someone just turn right and go straight head on into the wall. Let's take another look at that. This happened right back here, right around Polini. That second group.
Daniel Hendrick is now out of the race as a result. With this caution, we'll see that it was around that 3 wide. I almost thought there was going to be contact going into turn 3 right there with Peacock and Miller.
Coming off turn number 4. The wreck happens going into turn number 1 this time. As you see that inside lane get going, and then watch right there where they're fanning out 3 wide or so. That's where this incident starts, up here at the middle of the pack. Go off into the first turn. 3 wide right there. So let's see what happens. Right there, there's the contact. You see Polini just shoot head on into the wall.
I believe that might have been Mata, who was towards his inside as well. That was trying to charge up there. Some significant damage for a lot of those drivers. Polini getting the biggest ride of them all, though. Not as big airtime as some of the other drivers today, but hit by at least 2 to 3 trucks in this incident.
Here, look. Watch the contact right there.
Some big flips for Mata.
Yeah, Mata went for quite the ride as well. Brian Chu getting a big hit.
Some massive rides, and now this is to where drivers are at that fuel mark to make it to the end here, Greg.
Yeah,
if they aren't the lead truck.
They pit now, they can go. Here's the question. Who pits, who doesn't? Call this the money stop, Justin?
You'd have to think so. It's going to be tight for a GWC situation, but the trend has said cautions breed cautions. And they go.
And down. There it means. Down pit road.
And we do have one truck who has elected not to come in. Mike Lynch has elected to stay out on the racetrack.
Third Lynch.
Oh, and contact under the pit lane. Ryan Twinham was side by side with JR Miller and made contact going into their respective pit boxes. Mains, both of them come out 1-2. Off and away goes Twinham after some contact.
Twinham took the fast repair as well on the number 89 as a result of that. And Alan Dobbs has loaded up on the trailer as well.
That's going to have significant ramifications for the points.
Big time. As well, Navarro currently being pinned right near the tail end of the field, 1 lap down. He's in 24th and on pit road trying to get some damage repaired. That's also going to have a big hit in the points as well. This is really going to help Garrett Baines.
Yeah, he is essentially one of the few drivers left in that points battle conversation who has a clean race truck at the moment. Taylor Peacock is also in that conversation at the moment. JR Miller, he's someone that's had a beat-up race truck for the past little while. Everybody else around them has had to get significant amount of damage repair done. Half the field is getting repairs done in the pit lane. At the moment, only 13 have rolled off the lane so far on the lead lap.
Goes back to what we talked about 30 laps ago when we mentioned that if you had to use the fast repair early, you were kind of in trouble because you had no more fast repair, and the way this race had been going, it was possible that you were going to have to take another one. Sure enough, here we are. A lot of drivers finding themselves in a position late that they have to get some manual repairs, and there's quite a few drivers up at the front still who we know is a possibility that they are going to have to take manual damage because they've already used the fast repair if it happens.
There is damage on Mike Lynch's truck, by the way, and he pit the previous caution flag. He's in a spot where he is the only one, Greg, here taking the risk. of trying to hope he's got enough gas in the tank already and hopes that the speed, it looks like, holds on. But we've already seen today, if you have damage as the lead truck, drivers have driven right on by them.
Guilty call.
But with 10 laps to go, you don't blame them for this type of move. This could be one, if you get enough caution flags, that could work out.
I mean, we've seen it before on LSRTV in another series where drivers stayed out and they tried something different. They just kept catching caution, kept catching caution, and they wound up winning the race. I believe it was Brightsman in the Cup race for the Northwest Cup Series that was the one I'm thinking of, where he stayed out. We're like, there's no way. Sean Brightsman takes gambles, and there's no way this one's going to pay off. Well, caution, and it worked out, and he got the win. So it's happened before. Does it happen tonight, though?
We'll see. Again, $50 on the line for the winner. Top 5 can receive payouts in this respective series. It is Mike Lynch, Garrett Maines, Jason Maines, Jay Jensen, the top 4. Then Osborne, Snyder, Twin M, Peacock, Miller, Critchley. Among your top 10 trucks at the moment. Here we go. iRacing pace car is off. Lynch, off and away. Green flag.
The question is, Justin, that damage on that 2 truck, what is it going to do? Maines is going to try crossover. He's going to try to get him on the bottom here. Garrett Maines saw that he had enough room there on the line to get to the inside. He's going to do exactly that. Bonsai move from Garrett Maines. He's got his dad hooked up with him. Nice move by the Maines family there.
Very dicey indeed, as Jason Maines, a bit of contact from Jay Jensen just about to the corner panel. Jensen trying hard to side draft. Mike Lynch has already been moved back to 9th position with the damage.
Jensen trying to run on the outside. Separate the Maines family. Ooh, they get dicey for second between Jason and Jay.
Major side draft once again with 9 laps to go this time. The Elliott Sauer Esports machines, the family members trying to stay hooked up. Right now, this lead pack sees 11 trucks separated by about 1 second. Jensen back to the bottom of the racetrack, trying to rebuild his momentum.
I need to run. Ooh, almost some contact there in the back between Lynch and Sanford. They settle things down for the time being, but here we go. The Maines family, 1-2. Jensen, Osborne, Jeff Snyder. Very quiet race for him, but here he is up in the top 5. Whoa!
Oh!
Jensen and Maines almost got together there. Great save by Jason Maines. Opens the door. Jay Jensen now up to 2nd. Ed Osborne lurking, though. Jensen trying to get the lead away from Garrett on the outside here. Ooh, some contact there as well.
Tempers are flaring and a bit of contact behind them. Into the wall go several trucks. Taylor Peacock around. The 2 machine of Mike Lynch. Several more pile up as the caution is out. 8 laps to go. And some major tempers flaring there. A bat push into turn 3, and then this.
You see Jensen on the outside there. That's up front, but watch what happens back here in the pack. This is what causes puts us under the yellow right there. Contact between Peacock and Snyder sends Critchley into the wall and collects the field. Hallman involved, J.R. Miller. Members definitely beginning to flare because they know there's money on the line. These guys are going for some bragging rights here.
Let's take a look on board. See the peak this is from, I believe, the 54.
Actually just pancaked the wall there.
Immediately
54.
broke. Looked like it immediately busted the motor and some of the suspension as well. Ryan Twinham already out of the race as a result of that incident. He's already made his way to the pit lane. And that leaves maybe 9 clean trucks left who have all elected to stay on the circuit. Jay Jensen is your leader. So the drivers who did not come down right now at the moment with some of the damage, Jay Jensen, Jason Maines, Garrett Maines, Ed Osborne, Christian Sanford, Jeff Snyder still has yet to come down. John Ertz, Nate Lynch, Brian Chu. That's it. Who are on the lead lap, who have not come down under this yellow flag so far.
Setting up for quite the interesting finish here, Justin. I am very intrigued on what's going to happen here.
We'll see how this plays out here as the drivers regroup. It'll be about 5 laps to go or so when we come back for what has been a thriller at iRacing Super Speedway. As Jensen comes in, take a quick step aside. You're watching LSRTV for straight cash money.
With the Butt Kicker Gamer 2, what you see and what you hear is what you feel. Butt Kicker. The future is feeling.
Welcome back for what's expected to be what appears to be a 4-lap shootout coming up here on LSR TV for straight cash money, and what has proven to be a attrition-filled second half here at the iRacing Super Speedway. Justin Prince, Greg Rentz, Charles Wood in the director's seat for today's action, as now it's the matter of how many laps do we go green? How does this race finish out? And who takes home the top 5 cash prize money for this one, Greg? Because we've seen how willing some of these drivers were willing to be able to earn some of those totals. And some of these others could be tight if there's a GWC.
Yeah, it's going to be very close if we don't if we don't stay green. It's going to be very interesting. Look at what Jason and Garrett Maines are doing. Down on the apron through the corner, saving just that much more fuel. Osborne saying, oh, hey, that's a good idea. I'm going to do that as well. So the Maines family in sync with each other right now saying, hey, save fuel. Do whatever you got to do to save fuel. Knowing that we're close. Nice move by the Maines family. Jason Maines is taking the lead, by the way, in the number 31. He's going to be the control truck on this restart.
It's going to be interesting how this all plays out. Keep in mind that Jay Jensen did come down to get some repairs done to the pit lane last time by. Of note, J.R. Miller is officially now out of the race. He has just put his truck into the garage area. Also out of the race with this caution flag, Critchley off circuit, Kevin Howellman currently off circuit, Ryan Twinham out, Michael Anthony also off circuit. Also out of the race are Navarro, Mata, Dobbs, Hendrick, Parsons, Green, Adams, Thompson today.
All drivers on pit road. They haven't officially loaded up, but it's a safe bet that they are done for the day, and they're just watching out the finish to see what happens.
I mean, do you blame them? It's been that type of a finish, type of a race, rather, where the popcorn has been overflowing.
And I think if you're a guy like Navarro or Dobbs, you're just hanging out, just watching the end of it just to see what else happens and think, man, I'm glad I'm not in that right now.
See how this restart goes. Again, your top 10 positions are Jason Maines, Garrett Maines, Ed Osborne, John Ertz, Taylor Peacock, Jeff Steiner, Nate Lynch, Brian Chu, Jay Jensen, Christian Sanford. Last time by the straight, Jensen be among the drivers on the top line for this one. But it's Elliott Sauer Esports in control of the field. 4 laps to decide it from iRacing Super Speedway.
That's if we don't get into GWC territory.
Yes. And that's the big if.
Here we go.
iRacing pace cars off.
His family hooked up. John Ernest has worked his way back into the top 5 after being caught up in an incident early in this one as we go back under green. And he's going to give a shove to Garrett and get Garrett down in front of Jason. As Jay Jensen trying to get up there as well.
Father and son now hooked up. The son in front, the father behind. And a great launch to pull away from Nate Lynch and John Ernst. Osborne already losing some time. Jensen boxed in at the moment.
Here comes the outside line. Jensen and Ernst hooked up.
Gaining a lot of momentum into the corner here as the 75 now jumps up for the battle for second. Several cars hit the apron. Osborne with a bit of contact from Jeff Snyder. They keep it straight. We stay green as Peacock and Brian Lynch get shuffled out.
And out 3 wide for a moment. Jensen thought better of it. Coming to 3 laps to go. And Garrett Mays leads, but Ernst and Jensen are trying that outside line. Nate Lynch and company hooked up back there.
It's going to get very dicey. Ernst pushes up. There goes Jason Maines clipping a bit of the apron. The 75 with a better run down the straightaways. The higher up you go, the quicker down the straights. John Ernst now to the race lead. Coming up to 2 to go.
About 6 miles remaining when they get to the line. Jensen and Maines battling for third right now. Lynch able to get a run on the inside. Brian Chu and Ed Osborne hooked up with Jensen here. Here comes Garrett trying to get it back around. Ernst not going to happen. 2 laps to go.
And now Jay Jensen's in control of the top line. He's now side by side with Jason Maines for third spot. Has help from Ed Osborne.
Brian Chu there as well. Believe that 30 truck in there is a couple of laps down, if I'm looking at this correctly.
Pete Blaney's also back in the fight after a faster pair. He had the fastest lap last time. To take the white flag, race is official.
Kyle McCoy up on the extreme outside the 30 truck. He is a lap down. He would be the lucky dog if a caution comes out between now and by the time we get back to the line. But the white flag and the CRN 1 to go going to be displayed here for John Ernst if he can get back to the line. Looks like he will. White flag, CRN 1 to go.
Final lap from iRacing Super Speedway as Garrett Maines to the inside. Goings is hard. Contact. They crash up at the front. Jensen drives on by. They slam, still behind. Osborne now up to the front as here comes Brian Lynch now with a big run.
Stanford's there as well.
Lap truck moves out of the way. Lynch moves up to the top. 3 wide as Sanford takes it on the bottom.
Stanford to the lead.
Christian Sanford now looks to try and defend several lines. Contact again. Brian Lynch gets shuffled up. Checker flag waves. It's Christian Sanford who wins at iRacing Super Speedway.
Unbelievable. Ed Osborne, Taylor Peacock, Jay Jensen, Brian Lynch round out the field. How in the world? What did we just witness?
Craziness. Welcome to iRacing Super Speedway, where you're going 223 miles an hour at the start and finish line to determine a winner. But Christian Sanford is the one who takes home the checkered in throwing fashion.
Look at the damage on the back of that 28 truck. He did that with that damage. Oh, he just blew the motor. He's not going to be able to celebrate because he just blew the motor. Oh, no, he's slamming on the brakes.
And now he's getting slammed into. So I think that's the perfect timing to show what was a crazy one for our unofficial race results in this one. What a finish. What a run. And now I think Jeff Snyder is getting helped around. For Christian Sanford, though, he was able to make it 3 wide for the race win in turn 3 and pass Ed Osborne to take home the checker flag. Taylor Peacock and Jay Jensen finish right behind him as well. Brian Lynch gets shuffled up to the top, but still finishes only half a second behind in 5th. Brian Chu, Joseph Allen, Nate Lynch, Pete Polini, the last cars on the lead lap, while John Ernst finishes 1 lap down in 10th position, Greg.
Still getting the rest of our lineup sorted out as it was updated a couple of times during the reading of the top 10. As of now, we got Garrett Maines in 11th, Jason Maines in 12th, Jeff Snyder, Kyle McCoy, Mike Lynch, your top 15, Bradley Wilson, Darren Hallman, Curtis Critchley, J.R. Miller, Kevin Hallman round out the top 20.
21st spot goes to John Elliott today with Ryan Twinham. In 22nd, Michael Anthony, Andrew Navarro, Clint Mata, Alan Dobbs, Daniel Hendre, Rob Green, along with Hunter Parsons, Zach Adams, Toy Thompson. Your 31 trucks who made it into the field today here at iRacing Super Speedway. Post-race coverage coming up in just a moment. You're watching LSRTV for coverage of straight cash money. Welcome back to LSRTV for post-race coverage of straight cash money, where it was, well, quintessential iRacing Super Speedway today. 3-4 wide intense action, big incidents, big air by some of the drivers, and a big-time finish for one Christian Sanford, who takes home the victory and the top prize today. He's now standing by in celebration after what was an intense one today. How does it feel to be the winner of today's straight cash money event today, Christian?
Yeah, I think it's awesome. I'm really excited for it. It's been a lot of fun today. I really enjoyed it.
Talk us through those final laps where you had to charge from the mid-pack essentially to the front and take it 3 wide for the win.
Yeah, I had damage in the wreck previously, and I was just like, do I hang in the back and just let them wreck, or do I try and make a charge? And I saw them wrecking, and I had a good charge on the final lap, so I think it all worked out.
Indeed. Now, one more race on the calendar for straight cash money for this mini season. Cup Cards, Talladega once more. Your thoughts there?
Yeah, I didn't have a lot of luck in the first one, but I think I could pull it off again.
Anyone you want to thank for the run today?
Definitely Taylor for putting these together. I've really been enjoying the season so far, and I look forward to the next week.
Congratulations on the run today.
All right, thanks a lot, guys.
Christian Sanford, once again, your winner today by about 6/100ths of a second over Ed Osborne. Ed Osborne's now standing by with Greg Renz.
And Ed, we saw you up near the front pretty much all day, leading laps and just trying to get up there and finally able to put it together for a podium. You've been fast all season long. Just the luck hasn't gone your way. Not unfamiliar to what's going on with Sanford. But, man, up at the front all day. Tell us about jockeying for position throughout the race.
Yeah, I was just basically trying to hold my position up front. I've rode around in the back all season, and it's just not paid off for me. So I thought today I'd try to stay up front as much as possible.
So, Ed, tell us a little bit about what made you make that decision. I mean, we've seen that strategy come into play with Talladega and Daytona before, guys trying to stay up there at the front and hold their position versus drivers trying to ride around in the back. What was it that made you decide that was going to be what you were going to do?
Well, the way it's gone through the rest of the races in the season, I've just not had any luck riding in the back, so I've just decided today was the day. I wasn't going to put up with no crud, and I was just going to stay at the front if possible, so that's what I tried to do. My teammate, Alan Dobbs, me and him was working together and just decided to stay up front together.
and it worked out for you. Alan, of course, unfortunately getting caught up in an accident late, but you guys worked well, fantastic together. Next week, we head back to the site of the first race of the season here, Talladega, and with it working out with you being able to run up front today, are you going to think about doing the same thing in Talladega next week, right at the front, and try to get yourself set up for another good finish?
Yeah, I don't really stand a chance in the points, but I'm trying to finish the last few races here up front, maybe win one. I think Talladega, I have a great chance, and that's what I'll be trying to do there too, is just staying up front.
Well, Ed, second place here today at iRacing Super Speedway. And I know you've been waiting a long time to give some shout-outs to the guys who got you here. So who you got? Who's with the 19?
Yeah, I want to start by thanking Taylor. Great racing here in this series. Give a shout out to all my boys at VFP. Look, boys, I finally did it. Woo! All the broadcast guys, y'all do an excellent job. Looking forward to the last few races here.
Place Ed Osborne, congratulations.
Thank you.
And you mentioned Taylor Peacock, kind of the mastermind behind it. He finished third in this race tonight. Justin Prince is standing by with our third place finisher, and the guy who puts this deal together every week, Taylor Peacock.
Yes, indeed. And first things first, Taylor, let's talk about the closing stages. What was your viewpoint of what was a crazy finish for this one?
Oh, man, that was crazy. I don't even know where to begin, honestly. I seen Ed up there. Me and Ed's been a big supporter of the Straight Cash Money League. You know, he's helped me out a lot. I really appreciate him. I seen him up there. I was rooting for him the whole time. If I couldn't get there, that's no doubt. But I was lucky. I chose the right line at the right time. About the time I jumped up high, there was a crazy wreck on the inside, and I was able to get around it for a good finish.
What was the game plan like for this type of a race? Because you're going with unrestricted speeds up to 230 miles an hour today. You have drivers who are bobbling on corner exits and corner entries along some of the bumps. And you have banking where if you smack it hard enough, it destroys the suspension. What was kind of the game plan like today, and overall, how do you feel you executed that overall?
Well, the game plan coming in was to, you know, I think I'm fifth or so in the points. I was just wanting to get out with a decent finish, set myself up for Talladega so I can make a run at the win. And the first half of the race, I just hung out in the back, mid-pack, kept the draft. I didn't have to use my fast repair till the very end there. Luckily, I had it in the bank.
Very vital indeed. You mentioned Talladega up next. Your thoughts going into that last one, the last race of the mini season?
Oh, man, it's going to be intense. I know the points. I'm ready to get the points all figured out to see where everybody stacks up going into Dega. I know it's close. It's going to be probably 10 different guys that still have a chance to win it, so it'll be a good one.
Who do you want to thank for the run today?
Well, first off, you guys at LSRTV, you guys have done an awesome job. I'm very glad I went with you guys for the broadcasting. Can't thank you guys enough. Brother Racing, my teammates Zach Adams and Stephen Gregory. Stephen wasn't here today. He'll be back at Dega. But other than that, all the guys in the league that participate, and on to Talladega.
Congratulations on the run for yourself today.
Thank you.
It's going to Taylor Peacock coming home in third today. And on that note, Greg, your final thoughts on what was an intense one today?
Intense is an understatement, Justin. That was one of the most wild races we've had on LSRTV in quite some time. Seems like every time we come to iRacing Super Speedway, the intensity is always up an extra notch just because of just the sheer character of this racetrack. We love coming here. Can't wait for whenever the next time may be. Who knows when that is, but no doubt going to be a great one here at iRacing Super Speedway next time we're here. But we're on to Talladega, which we know that's the true wild card of oval racing is Talladega. And it's going to determine not just cash money, it's going to determine a champion. So for everyone who's always clamored for Talladega to be the championship race of another series, this is your shot. Tune in next week to see exactly what would happen in that case, because we're going to find out next week.
Absolutely. On that note, we'd like to thank you once more for tuning in for today's exciting action for straight cash money from the virtual iRacing Super Speedway. Once again, we'd like to thank our top three, Christian Sanford, Ed Osborne, Taylor Peacock, for taking the time to speak with us during post-race coverage. We'd also like to thank you for watching along throughout today's action. We'll see you at the virtual Talladega Super Speedway for Cup Cars for the next race next week. Be sure to tune in at 11:55 p.m. Eastern Time. But for my broadcast partner Craig Ransford, director Charles Wooden, I'm Justin Prince saying so long. You've been watching LSRTV, your home for sim racing.
This broadcast is the copyrighted work of LSRTV and may not be rebroadcast, retranslated, or used in any form without the express written consent of 52 Media LLC and iRacing.com Motorsports Simulations. LSRTV would like to thank you for your support and